Hello and welcome to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Explore our playlist for more captivating novels, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new audiobook. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 21 Unexpectedly Unlocked Ancient Magic Species. In just 3 days, Sparrow returned with 2 large carriages. One carriage was filled with hardwood longbows, and the other carriage was full of arrows. Sparrow was of course curious as to why Alan wanted to buy bows and arrows. After all, in his opinion, today's Rose Town has no place to use these things at all, and doing so is a complete waste of gold coins. However, the Lord's decision, he, a financial officer, cannot change at all. Lord, I'm back. The middle-aged financial officer with a small beard and a shrewd look on his face seemed a little excited. Oh, Sparrow, this time you came back much faster than before. Alan smiled slightly. Haha, Lord, that's because Viscount Elon has already fulfilled his promise and started to open up the commercial road. In 2 weeks at most, it can be paved outside the mountains. Sparrow smiled. Opening up the commercial road is completely the most important thing for the financial officer. Oh, I didn't expect Elon to move so fast. Then you should prepare, go to the town to select some people later, and we will also start to open up the commercial road as soon as possible. Alan said with a smile. Okay, Lord, leave it to me. Sparrow smiled. When he mentioned the commercial road, he naturally thought of gold coins, and things related to gold coins are what he, Sparrow, likes most. Lord, there is one more thing, the animal skins that you asked me to sell have all been sold, and I have also acquired some of your favorite of ancient magic species. As he spoke, a servant behind Sparrow walked up holding a small box. Look, these are some of the I have collected. They all seem to be quite old. I don't know if you need them, Lord. Sparrow is a very smart person. He is more shrewd than others. Others only respect and even admire Alan. But Sparrow is trying to observe Alan's preferences and take the initiative to please Alan. Alan is very satisfied with this. Very good, Sparrow, you are a smart person, your intelligence will make your future full of glory. Alan smiled slightly, a hint of satisfaction appeared on his slightly youthful face. Sparrow immediately lowered his head and said, "Following you, I will be glorious for life." After saying that, he left very tactfully. Alan then focused his attention on the small box that Sparrow had presented to him. Let me see, what are all these things inside? Alan opened the box, which was filled with various furs or bones. It should be things from beasts or magical beasts. However, he touched several things in a row and none of them caused the system to react. This shows that these are not the furs or bones of ancient magic creatures at all. As expected, even the furs of those ancient magic species are not so easy to obtain. Alan chuckled and said indifferently. He slid his finger slightly, ready to close the box. Ding! Congratulations to the host for unlocking the ancient magic species Sea Lion Beast. Reward: Sea Lion Beast Creature Card *20. The sudden prompt made Alan slightly stunned and then his face was ecstatic. There really is an ancient magic species. He took out the Sea Lion Beast's creature card. The deep blue creature card was more profound in color than the creature cards of those magic species he had unlocked before. Number 14-14, Sea Lion Beast. An ancient magic species, a marine magical creature. Adult sea lion beasts can reach 6 meters in length and 4 meters in height. Sea lion beasts are proficient in water elemental magic and are one of the most powerful species in the ocean. Seeing the introduction of the sea lion beast, the smile on Alan's lips became more and more obvious. Sparrow really did a great job, unlocking the navy for me in advance. Alan was in a cheerful mood. Now, I am even more looking forward to the arrival of the pirates. Before, he was still thinking about passive defense. After all, the current strength of Rose Town was not enough for him to have naval power. They could only wait for the pirates to approach before defending. But now, defense. Why defend when you can attack proactively? 20 sea lion beasts, it is estimated that it is enough to make those pirates doubt their lives. Alan put away the sea lion beast creature card, and then stared at the fur and bones in the small box with fiery eyes, touching them one by one. But apart from the sea lion beast, no second ancient magic species appeared. Alan was not too disappointed by this. After all, ancient magic species are a power that can only be encountered by chance. Those powerful species that have completely withdrawn from the mainland stage and only left a trace of brilliance in historical records are almost invisible in this era. They are far more powerful than the current magic species. Being able to unlock one sea lion beast is already extremely pleasing to him. In the following 2 weeks, Alan completely kept a low profile, and at the same time secretly released the sea lion beasts into the water. However, he had already told them to not harm the townspeople of Rose Town usually, and not to show their faces, but to live and hunt in the slightly farther sea areas. When Alan needs them, he will naturally call them. As Alan's appendages, they have a subtle connection with Alan, feeling that they can call them in their hearts. Of course, the premise is that the distance cannot be too far. 2 weeks passed in a flash. On this day, the night was dark, and Alan suddenly received a reminder from the sea lion beasts. An unidentified ship was slowly approaching Rose Town. Chapter 22 Knight in Armor, Pirates Attack. Hee, are they finally here? Alan did not do the main quest in these 2 weeks, he could only keep finding some side quests with few experience points to do. Now his level is still level 5, and the experience bar shows 8,210 There is still a distance to upgrade. But fortunately, after 2 weeks, his main quest and 2 side quests are about to be completed. A wave of wealth is coming. Grandpa Edward, take out my knight's armor. Alan got up directly and called the butler Edward. My lord, what are you going to do? Edward was a little stunned, he didn't understand what Alan was doing up in the middle of the night instead of sleeping. Grandpa Edward, I have received a revelation from the gods that some villains dare to spy on my territory, wanting to slaughter my people, and plunder our wealth and the spirits of nature. A trace of coldness flashed in Alan's eyes. What? Butler Edward's old face sank slightly. Alan is a nobleman, a lord. No one can spy on his territory and property. If anyone dares to invade the noble lord, it is undoubtedly wanting to provoke a war. Edward's face suddenly became ugly. Those damned, shameless bugs, dare to attack the territory of the Thorns Flower family. Don't worry, Grandpa Edward, I'm prepared. Alan smiled slightly. Could it be the defense works on the beach? Edward is not stupid, he instantly understood what Alan meant, and also understood why Alan would let people build defense works on the beach. Soon, Alan's knight's armor and knight's sword were brought up by the servants, and at the same time Alan ordered the servants to notify Marco to gather all the warriors and wait for him to come out at the gate of the castle. As a descendant of the Thorns Flower family, even if Alan is not favored by the earl, he still has his own knight's armor. This is the knight's armor created by the best blacksmith in the earl's territory and the magicians enshrined by the earl. It has powerful defensive power and a certain degree of magical power. Help the lord change armor. Edward said to the 2 male servants. Alan stood quietly, and the 2 male servants helped him change his clothes and put on the knight's armor. The gorgeous knight's armor radiating bursts of cold light was quickly changed. Alan's originally handsome face matched with this set of knight's armor engraved with thorns flowers made him look even more handsome and full of heroic spirit. After putting on the knight's armor, Alan walked out of the castle. Outside the castle were 50 warriors ready to go. 20 warriors were arranged by Alan to patrol the beach at this moment, prohibiting anyone from entering or leaving the sea. This is to prevent the traitor hidden among the townspeople from passing information to the other party. My lord. Marco's eyes flashed a gleam of light when he saw Alan in armor and holding a sword. He knelt on the ground and saluted Alan. At the same time, the 50 warriors behind him knelt down together. My lord. Alan nodded with satisfaction. Warriors, I have received a revelation from the gods. Evil people are spying on my territory, they are covered in blood, they are plunderers, abusers. They attempt to invade my territory with brutal means, harm my people, and plunder our property, these damned, greedy bastards. I, Alan, will never allow them to step into Rose Town. Warriors, what should we do in the face of these bastards? Alan raised his arms and shouted, and suddenly everyone roared, kill. Kill. Kill them all. Then follow me and kill them all. Alan immediately shouted, jumped up, turned over and got on his horse, leading everyone towards the beach. When Alan led his men and horses to the vicinity of the beach, three three-masted sailing ships could already be seen heading towards Rose Town on the sea. My lord, it's a ship. A pirate ship. These dirty bugs actually dare to come to Rose Town. Marco's face was ugly, and at the same time his heart was even more shocked. Not only him, but everyone present, and even some of the townspeople who had been awakened, were shocked in their hearts. They originally thought that Alan was just taking precautions, but they didn't expect that someone really wanted to invade Rose Town. Marco thought of what Alan had just said. Yes, the Lord was prompted by the gods. The Lord is really a person watched by the God of War, and his future will be brilliant. Marco thought in his heart, and the others had almost the same idea in their hearts. After all, Alan has created another miracle this time, and can foresee unknown dangers in advance. What an incredible power this is. Only gods can do this. Alan didn't know that his image was constantly rising in everyone's hearts at this moment. At this moment, he was just calmly watching the entire sea, and at the same time he was calling the sea lion beasts in his mind. Chapter 23 Miracle. Evil people will inevitably suffer divine punishment. My lord, the other side has three three-masted sailing ships. Enough to carry 300 people. Marco said with a slightly ugly face, what kind of pirates are these, actually with such a large scale? Ordinary pirates with dozens of people are already large scale. This time, a pirate group of 300 people appeared all at once. This is simply unheard of. I see, Marco, warriors, townspeople, you don't have to worry, I, Alan, will always stand in front of everyone and block these pirates outside. Alan's tone was sonorous and powerful, and his eyes were full of determination. As Alan and the others made more and more noise on the beach, most of the townspeople had already been awakened. At this moment, when they heard that pirates were coming, their faces turned ugly. However, after hearing Alan's words, their eyes immediately showed a look of emotion and worship. Lord, many of the townspeople's eyes were red. The noble lord was only 15 or 16 years old, wearing armor, holding a sword, and saying that he would stand in front of them. How lucky are they to meet such a lord? My lord, no, your status is noble, how can you rush in front of us? Marco's face changed suddenly, and he became nervous. You only need to command from behind. Marco said anxiously. No, I need to fight, Marco, you know, knights who have not experienced a real battlefield cannot become real strong men, and I am fighting for my territory and my people, I will not lose. Alan said firmly, besides, you don't have to worry, I have received a revelation from the gods, and there will be friends to help us. Alan's words made everyone present stunned. Friends. Number 15 to 15. What friends? All 70 warriors of Rose Town, plus 2 knights, are here. This is already all of Rose Town's fighting force. As for friends, let alone they haven't heard of any friends, even if someone is willing to help them, I'm afraid it's too late now. Because those three three-masted sailing ships are getting closer and closer, and they are about to enter the shallow water area. 70 people facing 300, even if they have defensive works, the chances of winning are not great. At this moment, everyone fell silent. The warriors all thought this was a lie Alan was telling to comfort the townspeople. But they won't expose it. Will someone really help? While everyone was silent, a few children opened their big eyes and asked innocently. Alan lowered his head, revealing a confident smile, of course. After speaking, he pointed to the sea. At this moment, evil people will surely be condemned by heaven. Sea thugs will be buried in the sea. Boom. As soon as Alan finished speaking, the originally calm sea suddenly exploded like thunder. Everyone's eyes were attracted by this loud noise. Then they were completely shocked on the spot. I saw countless streams of water rising from the originally calm sea in an instant. These streams of water, like huge water snakes, instantly destroyed the 3 sturdy and huge 3-masted sailing ships. The originally majestic 3-masted sailing ships were instantly destroyed by the water flow, and all 3 ships began to leak at the same time. The sea was full of pieces of wood scattered after the water flow hit the ship's body and pierced the ship. Ah, 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 ah. Damn it. What kind of monster is it? Help, help. There are monsters in the sea. Before even approaching the shallow water area, the 3 powerful 3-masted sailing ships were easily pierced and sunk. The pirates on the ship wailed miserably and jumped into the water, swimming towards the shore. It's just that if they want to swim to the shore, they have to ask the sea lion beast if it agrees. Without saying a word, Alan directly ordered to leave most of the pirates in the sea forever. As soon as his order was issued, the sea lion beast took action immediately. The sea lion beast was originally a powerful creature in the ocean, extremely proficient in water element magic. At this moment, in the sea, it is even more like a fish in water. They stirred the sea, and suddenly the entire sea surface was turbulent, as if the sea was angry. Waves and terrifying suction underwater dragged most of the pirates to the bottom of the water, leaving them in this sea forever. The remaining less than 100 pirates were placed on the shore by the sea lion beast. This was deliberately left by Alan. He still had some questions and interest in this group of pirates. Oh my God, a miracle. The sea is angry because of the Lord. We won. Incredible. Incredible. Long live the Lord. Long live the Lord. Different from the miserable appearance of the pirates, everyone on Alan's side was cheering. The warriors were even more morale high. The Lord has once again shown miracles in front of them. At this moment, they are full of fighting spirit. At this moment, they feel that they are also being watched by the gods. At this moment, everyone has only one thought: follow the Lord, under the gaze of the gods, sweep everything and welcome victory. Chapter 24 First Battle, Complete Victory. Is this the man watched by the gods? Marco's heart was shaken. He now not only respects Alan, but is completely in awe. Because the power Alan showed was too powerful. The scene was like a natural disaster. Even Marco, who had experienced life and death, was shocked by this scene. Not to mention other people. Those townspeople couldn't wait to directly enshrine Alan as a god. Warriors, prepare to shoot arrows. Alan waved his long sword, and suddenly 70 warriors simultaneously bent their bows and nocked arrows. After 2 weeks of intensive training, these warriors have basically mastered archery. Although the accuracy is not very high, but it can't hold back the close distance. Even if it's a random shot, 10 arrows will always hit 1 or 2. Alan doesn't expect them to be 100% accurate, as long as they can eliminate a group of people. The reason for doing this is because Alan even knows that warriors can only grow through real battles. What he needs are real elite warriors, brave men who can charge into battle on the battlefield. After all, he will definitely be fighting on the battlefield frequently in the future. Then take this opportunity to train the warriors under his command, and also train himself well. There are archers ambushing. Damn it, didn't you say this is just a down-and-out town? How can there be archers? Damn it, are we ambushed? Faced with the sudden arrows, many pirates who had just climbed ashore and were still lingering were directly shot. Blood immediately began to stain the beach red. Disperse, disperse, find cover. Damn it, a bunch of lowly people dare to hurt me. A voice sounded in the pirates, and suddenly the surviving pirates dispersed and hid. HMPH, a bunch of guys who have only practiced for a few days. Even if we encounter a shipwreck, a monster, and only a third of us are left, we can still solve you. A man wearing armor said with an ugly face. His whole body was wet with sea water, but he couldn't hide his handsome appearance. A gorgeous armor and a knight's long sword symbolize the extraordinary identity of this man. Pirates would not wear knight armor to rob, and those who can own knight armor are mostly nobles' knights. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Sir, there are no more swords. On the other side, Marco said to Alan with a slight frown. There were not many arrows to begin with, and they were quickly shot out. Warriors, muster your courage and follow me to charge. Alan didn't have much nonsense. Since the arrows were shot, then grab the guys and fight in close combat. HMPH. Brothers, those lowly people have no more arrows. Everyone follow me to charge and let these little guys see what real power is, and let them know how serious the consequences of angering us are. The man in knight armor waved the long sword in his hand and charged up with his men. The two groups of people directly collided together. Alan keenly discovered that there were actually knights in the opposite crowd. Sure enough, this group of pirates has other identities. A trace of killing intent flashed in Alan's eyes. No matter what their identity is, if they dare to invade his territory, they have to pay the price. Kill. Alan directly cut off a pirate's head with a sword, and then walked towards the man wearing the knight's sword. "Sir." Marco frowned slightly, but saw Alan wave his hand at him, signaling him not to intervene. Alan walked directly towards the man wearing knight armor, which immediately attracted the other party's attention. "Oh, is a little kid going to the battlefield too?" A trace of disdain flashed in the eyes of the man wearing knight armor. "Hee, wouldn't I have to be like you, so old, and still shamelessly sneak up on others in the middle of the night?" Alan said sarcastically. "HMPH. Boy, do you know who I am? Let me tell you, I am a baron of the Blue Moon Principality. Remember my name, I am Rex. The one who will take your life." Rex showed a cruel smile after speaking. "It's a pity, little thing. Originally, we only wanted to plunder wealth, but you successfully angered me, so you can only die. Forgot to tell you, I am a level 4 silver knight." Rex said with a proud face, looking like he was extremely proud. Alan remained calm when he heard this. Too much nonsense, just a level 4 knight. A trace of disdain appeared in Alan's eyes. This Rex looked like he was already 25 or 6 years old, 5 or 6 years older than Aaron, and he was only a level 4 silver knight. Tooey. Shameful. Looking for death. Rex's face was ugly, and he directly used his fighting spirit to slash at Alan with a sword. Number 16 to 16. Heh, I forgot to tell you, my name is Alan, and I'm 16 years old, a level 5 silver knight. As soon as Alan finished speaking, battle aura erupted from his body. The powerful and thick battle aura was attached to his longsword, and with one strike, he directly knocked Rex, who looked like he had seen a ghost, to the ground. As expected, a piece of trash like you can only resort to sneak attacks. You're definitely not qualified for a head-on battle. Alan's longsword rested on Rex's neck, while Rex's longsword was cleaved away by Alan in one strike. In an instant, Rex was defeated by Alan. Meanwhile, the others around him were quickly killed or defeated by Alan's warriors. Soon, the battle on the entire beach came to a halt. Alan's side had a complete victory. Ding! Congratulations, host, for completing the mission, gaining 3,000 experience points and 30,000 gold coins. Chapter 25 Partners. Carrot and Stick. We won. Lord Alan won. As expected of someone watched over and blessed by the gods. The Great Lord will definitely be an extraordinary person in the future. Mommy, did we win? Lord Alan is so amazing. When I grow up, I want to be like my brother and the others and follow Lord Alan. The entire Rose Town, men, women, and children, cheered simultaneously. They continuously cheered and praised Alan's name. The children had already deeply ingrained the idea of following Alan when they grew up into their hearts. Lord Alan, are you all right? Marco quickly rushed to Alan's side. He was the most worried just now. As a knight who swore to protect Alan, he would absolutely not allow anyone to harm Alan in the slightest. Even though he knew Alan was strong, he was still worried. Marco, relax a little. Look, we won. I told you, we would have friends to help us. Alan smiled slightly, his words making Marco stunned. He immediately looked towards the sea, where massive shadows were emerging. Magical beasts! Marco exclaimed in surprise. Immediately, the others also saw the seahorse beasts in the sea. Don't panic, they are our friends, a gift from the gods, our most loyal friends. Alan said loudly. He now wanted the townspeople and his warriors to gradually accept those magical beasts loyal to him. After all, more magical beasts would appear in the future. And they would fight alongside these magical beasts. Rather than appeasing people's hearts later, it was better to give them a heads up in advance. Let them believe that these magical beasts were sent by the gods, human partners. What? Those terrifying magical beasts are actually the Lord's, oh, no, the gods' gift. Look at those magical beasts, heavens, they seem so calm, not as violent as other magical beasts. They just helped us eliminate most of the enemies, amazing. Listening to the words of the surrounding townspeople, a hint of a smile appeared on Alan's lips. He knew that the townspeople already had a trace of belief in their hearts. However, the brutality of magical beasts was still deeply rooted in people's hearts. Even with Alan's current position in the hearts of the townspeople, it was not enough to make the townspeople completely believe. Alan didn't care, just waved his hand, and immediately, 20 seahorse beasts slowly approached the shore, and Alan also walked towards the sea. Lord Alan, don't go, be careful, it's dangerous. Some people around said nervously. It's okay, I said, this is a gift from the gods, they are our friends. Alan said, already approaching the seahorse beasts. Between him reaching out his hand, immediately, a seahorse beast lowered its head, allowing Alan to caress it like a puppy. The seahorse beast was huge, with long white fur all over its body, and 2 sharp teeth exposed outside, looking extremely frightening. Roughly similar to the seahorses on Earth, just with more white fur and a larger size. Heavens, unbelievable, this is a magical beast. Someone said in shock. They wouldn't forget the scene where these magical beasts used magic to destroy 3 sturdy and huge 3-masted sailboats before. That terrifying scene had something to do with this magical beast that was acting like a puppy. Marco even seriously suspected that these magical beasts were puppies wearing magical beast skins. Alright, you guys go back and continue your previous work. Alan patted a seahorse beast, and soon, all 20 seahorse beasts disappeared into the sea again. See God bless, they really won't hurt us. The townspeople said excitedly. Compared to the excited townspeople, Rex, who was tied to the ground with a bewildered face, was shaken to the core. This is the impoverished and weak little town in the news. These magical beasts are more powerful than a maritime army. Forget about 3 3-masted sailboats, even if 10 came, they would be blasted through. In an instant, Rex felt like he had been deceived. Ah, damn Jack, you dared to lie to me. You're dead. Rex stared at a familiar person in the crowd and roared angrily. Alan smiled, he glanced at the guy who was already pale and wanted to turn around and run away. Catch him, Alan said to the warriors beside him. Soon, this traitor was caught. Lord Alan, this guy actually dared to betray us. Marco said with a murderous look. Alan also stared coldly at the traitor who was kneeling on the ground and begging for mercy. Lord Alan, spare me, Lord Alan, they forced me, Alan didn't listen to his nonsense and swung the knight's sword in his hand. Blood splattered on the beach, and a headless corpse slowly fell to the ground, its head rolling far away. This scene startled many townspeople. They looked at the murderous Alan and suddenly felt that this great lord was not only kind and benevolent but also extremely ruthless. The reason why Alan killed the traitor in front of them was to let these townspeople know where his bottom line was. He had already shown kindness to the townspeople before, and now he wanted to show his majesty and methods. This was the true method for a lord to manage his territory, a combination of carrot and stick. Chapter 26 Level Up, Mission, Gold Coins Arrive. Ding, congratulations, host, for completing the side mission, gaining 500 experience points. Listening to the prompt in his mind, Alan's expression was still calm. He left 20 warriors to clean up the battlefield, while he led the others back to the castle. Lord Alan, you're finally back. Thank goodness, it's good that you're alright. Quickly, remove the Lord's armor. Also, prepare hot water and food. The Lord needs to rest. When the old butler Edward looked at Alan, who was covered in blood, a trace of heartache flashed in his eyes. Soon, the servants removed the knight's armor. Alan had people lock the living prisoners in the basement, and then had the warriors take turns guarding them, while he took a comfortable bath, then ate some delicious steaks and desserts, and drank some good wine. Huff, Mrs. Perma's craftsmanship is as good as ever. Alan enjoyed the wine while comfortably sitting on the soft chair. At this moment, he was checking his system interface. Host, Alan. Level, 5. Territory, Rose Town. Population, 845. Experience, 11,710 Buildings, Beginner Dragon Nest. Mission, open up farmland, recruit manpower. Your territory has gradually improved, but you know that the population of the territory and the number of professions in the territory also affect the future development of the territory. The beast problem has been resolved, and a large area of fertile land near the mountains can also be reclaimed. Now, mobilize everyone to open up farmland and recruit enough manpower from the earldom, but don't forget that you need some talents with professional skills even more. Note, this mission will last for 1 month. After 1 month, the rewards will be settled based on the total population growth and the total farmland growth. If the host feels that the goal has been reached, you can choose to end the mission early and settle the rewards. Looking at the interface, a trace of expectation flashed in Alan's eyes. This mission was different from the previous missions. There was actually a time limit and no fixed rewards. That is to say, the higher the mission completion, the more rewards he would get. Alan had a premonition that this reward would be extremely generous, of course, provided that he could obtain a large number of people and land. Number 17 to 17. Let's put the mission aside for now, there's still a month left, no rush. Alan first focused his attention on his level. Level up. 10,000 experience points vanished instantly, and the experience bar rapidly changed to 1,750 thousandths. The next level up would require 50,000 experience points. At the same time, a surge of powerful battle chi began to emerge within Alan's body. This battle chi circulated ceaselessly through Alan, instantly doubling his total amount of battle chi, and he vaguely felt as if his entire body, except for his head, was being understood by this powerful battle chi. Each time the battle chi passed through his neck, it encountered immense resistance. Ha! Alan quickly awakened from the wonderful sensation of breaking through, a glimmer of anticipation flashing in his eyes. He anticipated leveling up again, at which point he should become the second Golden Knight of the Thorns family. He would also be the youngest Golden Knight in the entire kingdom. Reporting, Lord. Just as Alan was imagining the future, Marco and 6 warriors walked in. The 6 warriors were carrying 3 large boxes. Marco, what's the matter? Alan smiled slightly. Lord, the magical beasts in the sea brought these 3 boxes to the shore and handed them over to our warriors. As Marco spoke, the 6 warriors behind him stepped forward and placed the 3 boxes in front of Alan. The 3 boxes were huge, a full meter tall, and nearly a meter in length and width. The entire box was locked with a large lock, and it was unknown what was inside. Alan raised his eyebrows slightly. I understand, let me see what's inside. Alan drew Marco's sword and swung it, directly severing the large lock on the box, which fell to the ground. Alan stepped forward and opened the wooden box, and immediately, strands of golden light emerged. Alan froze for a moment, then a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. Gold coins. He immediately realized that these were the 30,000 gold coins rewarded by the system. He had been wondering why he had seen the experience points but not the gold coins. Now, the gold coins had arrived. Bang, bang. Alan opened the other 2 wooden boxes as well, and sure enough, they were all gold coins. Even Marco was stunned by this scene. What was going on? Those magical beasts could actually give the Lord gold coins. The Lord's luck was simply heaven-defying. Ha ha ha, it seems I'm quite lucky. With these gold coins, I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Alan said with a joyful expression. Marco, take 100 gold coins here, 30 for you, and give the remaining 70 to the warriors below, this is my reward for them. Marco smiled at Alan's words. Thank you, Lord. At this moment, Marco's respect for Alan grew even more. This young lord was becoming more and more experienced and mature in his actions. Soon, Marco left with the gold coins, while Alan had people carry the gold coins to the study, and then, when no one was around, he put them into his inventory. At this moment, the thing he wanted to do most was to upgrade the dragon nest, seeing that Safi was almost unable to turn around in the beginner dragon nest. Ever since eating the dragon scale fruit, this little thing's body had been undergoing tremendous changes every day. Now, it had grown another circle, and it already felt a bit restricted in the beginner dragon nest. Chapter 27 Upgrading the Dragon Nest, Interrogating Rex. Ding, do you want to upgrade the beginner dragon nest to an intermediate dragon nest? Yes. Alan answered affirmatively. Soon, 10,000 of his gold coins instantly disappeared. At the same time, a huge change suddenly began to occur in the beginner dragon nest. With the original Crystal Valley as the center, the entire space instantly expanding more than tenfold. At the same time, some other things appeared in the valley that originally only had crystals. For example, a huge lake, with magic crystals inside, the entire lake filled with a faint magic power. In addition, Alan discovered that some of the crystals on the mountain were different, interspersed with some smaller stones. These stones contained a trace of power similar to the dragon scale fruit. Dragon power. Alan was shocked. Damn, This was too luxurious. It was indeed a dragon nest built with 10,000 gold coins. In this environment, Safi's growth would only become faster and faster. Alan looked at Safi, who was already 4 or 5 meters long, his eyes filled with anticipation. He really looked forward to the day when he could ride Safi and become a true dragon knight. After playing with Safi for a while, Alan began his cultivation for the day. Having broken through to level 6, today he and Safi had a little time to cultivate. 3.5 hours later, Alan walked out of the study, feeling refreshed. He felt himself getting stronger every day he cultivated with Safi. This feeling was great. It was said that Elon was still a level 4 knight. Alan smiled to himself. He really looked forward to being able to fight him one day. After thinking for a moment, Alan walked towards the basement, where more than 20 living pirates were being held. Damn it, you bunch of good-for-nothings, stop squeezing me. Dick, how long has it been since you took a bath? This place is too small. Hey, idiots, who farted? Walking to the outside of the basement, Alan heard the noisy voices of the pirates below. Lord, the several warriors responsible for guarding immediately saluted when they saw Alan. Alan patted them on the shoulders. You've worked hard. Not hard at all, it's our honor. The several warriors were flattered, their eyes showing a hint of fanaticism as they looked at Alan. All right, open the door, let me see what these guys look like. Alan's castle was just a country baron's castle, very small and dilapidated. And his basement was naturally not very large. Being able to hold more than 20 people was probably using the space to the limit. Alan could imagine the crowdedness in the basement at this moment. The basement door was parallel to the ground. The warriors opened the door, and Alan immediately smelled a stench as he looked down. Oh, hell, what have these guys been doing in here? Alan pinched his nose and took 2 steps back. At this moment, more than 20 strong men were crammed into a small basement. Most of them were already somewhat listless, but there were always a few energetic guys who were still arguing. Hey, look at the way you guys look now, it's really too embarrassing. I remember there was a guy named Rex, where is he? Alan looked around and didn't find Rex, asking with some doubt. I'm here. Rex's voice came from the corner. At this moment, this nobleman was being squeezed into the corner by his subordinates. Having had his knight armor stripped off by Alan, Rex had also had most of his strength sealed by Marco using skills. And having lost his knight armor and lost his powerful battle chi as a foundation, the slender Rex was completely crushed among the other burly men. Subscribe to Chinese novel audio wave. Rex simply couldn't squeeze past these guys and could only be squeezed to the very edge, tightly pressed against the wall. It seemed that he could persevere for several hours in this situation, which could be considered to have great perseverance. Ah, you're here. Alan smiled. He said to a warrior beside him, find a few people to pull up that guy in the corner who's being squeezed out of shape. I have something to ask him. After speaking, Alan turned and left. Soon, outside the castle, Alan sat at a table. This was a wooden table that the servants had carried out of the castle, covered with fruit, wine, and some grilled meat. Not far from Alan, Rex, who was somewhat listless, was tied to a wooden stake. At this moment, Rex looked at Alan eating grilled meat and drinking wine, his throat involuntarily moving. He had been without food for a night, you know. I heard you say you're a baron from the Blue Moon Principality. Why dress up as a pirate to attack our Rose Town? Don't tell me it's because you covet my spirit of nature. With your mere baron status and a level 4 knight cultivation at such an old age, I think you should be a baron from a large family. A large family can't be without a spirit of nature. There's no need to risk crossing the ocean to attack us. Alan said calmly. Rex wanted to vomit blood after hearing this. Damn, what did he mean by such an old age? I'm only 25, the prime of my youth. What's wrong with a 25-year-old 4th level knight? Rex cursed Alan like crazy in his heart, but he didn't dare say it. After all, his little life was in Alan's hands. Chapter 28 Another Spirit of Nature. I am the second son of Earl Bear of the Blue Moon Principality. Rex said with some exhaustion. He had no intention of resisting anymore. After all, he had already lost, and besides, he didn't want to die. The second son of an earl, this background makes me feel a little closer to you. Alan ate a piece of roast meat and then took a sip of wine. So, what is your purpose? Alan inquired. Your spirit of nature, don't look at me with that kind of look. My purpose is very simple, it's your spirit of nature. Originally, we didn't plan to come to Rose Town. After all, this has always been a poor town. We planted spies here many years ago, that's right, it's the one you killed. He told us that the current Rose Town is no longer what it used to be. A young lord has come, and at the same time, he has two spirits of nature, so we came to Rose Town along the way. It's just. Rex's tone became a little excited when he said this. He gritted his teeth and said, that waste actually dared to deceive me. No, he didn't deceive you. Alan shook his head upon hearing this. He probably told you about the changes in Rose Town, but he didn't say that I have a group of powerful warriors, nor did he say that I have magical beasts. In fact, he didn't know these things in the first place. It can only be said that you are unlucky yourself. Alan chuckled. Since you came to me along the way, then I'm very curious, what was your original destination? There is no clear goal, my goal is just to rob some wealthy places. Rex shook his head and said. Alan frowned slightly, could it really just be a simple robbery? He instinctively felt that something was wrong. All right, it seems you have no value to exploit anymore, thank you for your cooperation. Alan gave Marco a look, meaning to kill him. Marco was stunned for a moment, then lowered his head and said to Alan, Lord, he is a noble, and a member of a large family, you can let his father redeem him with a large sum of ransom, this is more valuable than killing him. Alan heard this, there's such an operation. Although he had been in this world for 16 years, he had always been in the Earl's territory, had not experienced war, and had not been exposed to these things, so naturally he did not know. Yes, Lord, the Earl often does this. Marco said softly. Alan immediately decided to exchange Rex for gold coins. However, this point still needs to be operated by his cheap father. After all, his little lord seems not enough to negotiate with the other party. Moreover, let the Earl do this kind of thing that is easy to be resented. Thinking of this, Alan waved his hand and asked people to lift Rex up again. Ah, I'm not going back, don't let me go back. Please, I'm not going back. Rex was in tears, it was not easy to come out, he really didn't want to go back to that nightmare-like basement that still exuded a nauseating smell. It's too terrifying. A prisoner has quite a few demands, take him down. Alan said calmly. Soon, this poor Baron of the Blue Moon Principality was stuffed into the basement by Marco again. Although he didn't ask for anything valuable, Alan at least knew that this guy Rex was worth a lot of gold coins. Alan already had an idea. After the commercial road is opened and he gets the third spirit of nature, he will prepare to return to the Earl's territory. There are two reasons. One is for the main quest, and he has to go to the Earl's territory if he wants to recruit manpower. The second is to tell the Earl about Rex's problem. After all, Alan felt that Rex's behavior was related to the Blue Moon Principality, and of course, the ransom was also one of the reasons. These two things made Alan have to go to the Earl's territory. Originally, Alan wanted to wait until his territory was completely developed and he had enough force and wealth before going back, but it seems that he can't wait until that time. A day later, the system in Alan's mind prompted that the commercial road was completely opened. He gained 3,000 experience points and a peace spirit of nature. After receiving the prompt, Alan went out on horseback directly. This time, Marco still accompanied him. Lord, what's wrong again? Marco is now extremely concerned about Alan's every move. Every time Alan makes a move, it shocks him. I don't know what the situation is this time. Ah, it's nothing, it's just that there is another spirit of nature waiting for me to subdue. Alan is now a little indifferent to the spirit of nature. Although these little guys are extremely beautiful and noble and can create huge wealth, but when good things become more, he doesn't care too much. However, just because he doesn't care, doesn't mean Marco doesn't care. This steady knight swayed and almost fell to the ground. Another spirit of nature. Chapter 29 Introverted Spirit of Nature, Thistle Flower Castle. Beautiful things will always attract everyone's attention. Peas are expensive crops, and the townspeople have originally put the most effort into these crops. The appearance of the pea spirit of nature naturally made many people see it instantly. The Lord is here. When the townspeople saw the Lord coming on horseback, the noisy scene suddenly quieted down. This was not the first time they had seen the spirit of nature. Only a great existence like the Lord could possess this kind of beautiful and noble thing. Alan skillfully subdued the peace spirit of nature. This little guy has a head of green hair. Compared with the previous Amy and Tara, this spirit of nature seems to be quieter and a little introverted. After being subdued by Alan, she hid in Alan's arms, tightly grasping Alan's clothes with her two small hands, as if afraid of being thrown away by Alan. Little guy, from today onwards, how about I call you Gray? The spirit of nature nodded timidly. Alan smiled and stroked her face to make her not too nervous. After leaving with Gray, Alan immediately, as before, ordered people to take good care of the pea field, and he took Gray back to the castle. Just entering the castle, Alan saw two little things, one red and one yellow, fighting. This was not the first or second time. Amy, Tara, stop making trouble, come here, let me introduce you to a new companion today. Alan said to the two mischievous little ghosts. Suddenly, the two spirits of nature focused their attention here. The red spirit of nature is Amy, she is the rose spirit of nature and has a head of dazzling red hair. The yellow spirit of nature is Tara, she is the wheat spirit of nature. After seeing the two of its kind, a hint of joy flashed in Gray's eyes. Hoo-hoo, Gray called out softly. Amy, Walla. The three spirits of nature quickly got together and got along relatively happily. Alan asked people to prepare another small bed in the spirit of nature room, and then it was time to reclaim farmland. Another acre of magic pea fields was reclaimed around the castle. Lord, they are so beautiful. Steward Edward smiled so hard that he couldn't open his eyes. In just a month or two, Rosetown had three spirits of nature. If the territory wasn't too barren, Alan could definitely be called the richest baron in the entire Ryan Principality. Yes, Grandpa Edward, these are our treasures. Alan said with a smile. Grandpa Edward, I'm going to the Earl's territory recently, so I will have to trouble you to take care of these little guys in the future. These are magic crystals for them to feed on. Give each of them half a piece at a time, and give them 2 to 3 times a day. Alan handed a large pile of magic crystals to Steward Edward. Don't worry, Lord, I will definitely protect these little guys with my life. Edward saw with an unusually serious expression. Alan explained some things and then asked Steward Edward to call Marco over. He asked Marco to prepare and take 20 elite warriors with him to return to the Earl's territory tomorrow. Marco went down to arrange it immediately. The remaining thing was to have people reclaim farmland, which he had already ordered to be done. Soon a day passed. In the early morning, when the sky was just slightly bright, Alan had already ridden his horse and led a team of men and horses out of Rosetown. His destination was Thistle Flower Castle. The reason for choosing to ride a horse was because riding a horse was faster and he could reach Thistle Flower Castle earlier. Along the way, Alan clearly felt the benefits of the commercial road. The flat road, with clear road signs around it, is no longer bumpy, which is definitely a good thing for merchants. After all, merchants usually carry goods, and roads that are too muddy are a great torment for them. Because of the commercial road, Alan and the others only spent most of the day to complete the journey that previously took more than a day. Number 19 to 19. Alan looked at the massive city in the distance, a trace of nostalgia and complex emotions flashing in his eyes. I didn't expect that in less than 2 months, Alan, would be back. Alan smiled and led his men into Thistle Flower City, heading towards the Thistle Flower Fortress in the city center. The huge city, the bustling commercial streets, and the dense population all filled Alan with emotion. In the past, Alan had disdained the scale of this city, its commercial streets, and its population. After all, he was a transmigrator who had seen truly prosperous metropolises and looked down on such backward cities. But since he took over Rosetown, he knew that Thistle Flower City was simply the most prosperous city in the entire earldom. Alan's arrival was quickly known to the Earl, and Alan and his men soon and smoothly entered the magnificent Thistle Flower Fortress. This fortress was 5 stories high, and it was surrounded by a dense cluster of 2- and 3-story small castles, standing in the city center like stars surrounding the moon. Alan's expression was calm, but his heart was already going crazy with complaints. His own little castle was simply too embarrassing to show off, but everything would get better. One day, my castle will be even more magnificent than Thistle Flower Fortress. Chapter 30, The Earl's Shock. Look who's here. My dear brother, why are you back? Are you in some kind of trouble? As soon as he entered Thistleflower Fortress, Alan saw Aaron's figure. At this moment, Aaron was asking with a curious look on his face. When Alan saw him, a glint flashed in his eyes. My dear brother, half of the reason I'm back this time is for you. Aaron was slightly taken aback. What do you mean? Alan took out a pea from his pocket, which he had picked from the magic bean field before he left. Look, what is this? Alan handed the pea over. Aaron's body suddenly shook. Magic bean. Don't tell me you've discovered another spirit of nature. A hint of disbelief flashed in Aaron's eyes. That's right, my dear brother. Your little brother doesn't know how, but inadvertently, I discovered another spirit of nature, the pea spirit of nature. See if you want to continue trading. Oh, and the previous magic roses have also grown another batch. Alan said to Aaron with great interest. At this moment, Aaron was completely stunned. There was only one thought in his mind. The third spirit of nature, the third. No matter how well-mannered he was, a strong sense of jealousy rose in the depths of his heart at this moment. From childhood to adulthood, he had always been the focus of everyone's attention. Everyone would please him, and he always possessed the best things in the earldom. Alan was just a good-for-nothing, only worthy of owning the things he didn't want after he had chosen them. But now, this younger brother whom he looked down upon had actually discovered 3 spirits of nature in just a month or two. 3 spirits of nature. Just the magic plants from one spirit of nature could bring Alan about 60,000 gold coins a year. How much profit could 3 bring? Close to 200,000. Thinking of this number, Aaron couldn't help but want to go crazy. This was 2 or 3 times more than the total annual income of his territory, the most fertile and prosperous in the entire earldom. The key was that his territory was not only more fertile than Alan's, but also 3 times the size of Alan's. The more Aaron thought about it, the more he felt that Alan was incredibly lucky, and at the same time, a trace of greed rose in the depths of his heart. He wanted to get Alan's fief. Just as he was absent-mindedly in a daze, Alan's voice rang out again. Hey, are you going to buy it or not? If not, I'll find someone else. There was some impatience in Alan's voice. Aaron frowned slightly. He examined the pea and nodded. Is it what I need? Still the old price? Yes. The two of them finalized a big deal in just a few words. All right, I have another matter to attend to this time. I need to see Father. After finishing the business, Alan immediately inquired about the Earl's whereabouts. Father is in the study. You know, he likes to stay in the study. You'd better wait for him to come out. He doesn't like people disturbing his reading. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Aaron shrugged. Alan curled his lips. Wait my ass. I can't waste my time. He didn't answer Aaron and directly led his men towards the depths of the castle. When he reached the central 5-story castle, Alan asked his men to wait at the door, while he went alone into the castle. Familiar with the way, he walked to the door of the Earl's study. He knocked on the door. Come in. A steady voice with a strong sense of majesty rang out. Alan pushed the door open and entered. Father. In front of Alan was a middle-aged man with a large build, thick eyebrows, and big eyes. He had medium-length blonde hair. At this moment, the Earl was staring at Alan, with some surprise and anger in his eyes. I should have told you not to disturb me when I'm reading. There was some anger in Earl Albert's tone. Alan smiled, completely unconcerned about the Earl's anger. He even walked directly to another chair in the study and sat down. You also said, except for special matters. Alan smiled and said. 6 feet 5.6, 6, 1.8, 8, 9, 6, 3, 0, 0, 0.3 feet, 1, 4, 2, 7. What is it? Albert frowned slightly. He felt that this son of his seemed to have changed, becoming a bit confident. It's about the Blue Moon Principality. Alan told the story of Rex's attack on Rose Town. What? You resisted 300 people? Albert was a little surprised after listening. He had already learned from Aaron that Alan had found 2 spirits of nature, and at the same time, Alan had begun to train his own warriors. But he never expected that Alan could lead his men to resist 300 enemies. This was simply unbelievable. You must know that since it was a Blue Moon Principality nobleman leading people to attack, then those pirates must be warriors trained by those nobles. Their strength should not be underestimated. 300 warriors were enough to put a small city in crisis. Not to mention Rose Town, which was just a small town. Yes, father, Alan said calmly. Although the fiefdom father gave me as baron, it doesn't mean that I don't have the strength to resist the enemy. How many people do you have? Albert was a little shocked, and he stared at Alan's face as he asked. 70 warriors, 20 of whom were given to me by you. Alan told the truth. Impossible. 70 people against 300. How is that possible? Albert immediately retorted. Hee, father, why is it impossible? Alan asked back, and at the same time, a strong surge of battle chi erupted from his body. What are mere 300 people in front of me? Chapter 31. Family Support, Signs of National War th. Level 6 Knight. Albert's eyes widened. This time, he could no longer remain calm and stood up directly from his seat. Seeing the Earl so out of composure, Alan showed a smile. That's right, I am already a level 6 Knight. Alan's voice was sonorous and forceful, neither humble nor arrogant. Albert stared at Alan's face for a long time, and finally, he sat back in his chair with a somewhat complicated expression. So what do you want to do this time? Albert understood that his originally useless son had changed. As for why he had changed so much, Albert didn't know, and he didn't want to know. For him, Alan's change was a good thing. In the world of nobles, only those who are excellent enough and strong enough can continue to be glorious. Alan's change was only beneficial and not harmful to him and to the entire Thistleflower family. Since Alan had reached the level 6 Knight, then he could no longer treat him as a waste. There was a bit of meaningfulness in Albert's tone. Alan knew that this was his strength and potential that had gained the Earl's approval. As long as the Earl recognized him, then he should be able to get the strong support of the Thistleflower family, which was a good thing for him, and also one of his purposes this time. First, I want to hand over a baron of the Blue Moon Principality to you. I heard that you can ask the Blue Moon Principality for ransom. You know, my territory is too poor, alas, not as good as Aaron's territory. As Alan spoke, he sighed, showing a look of sadness. Number 20 to 20. Count Albert's lips twitched slightly. Of course, he knew what Alan was thinking. The guy was subtly hinting that he should give him some compensation. Albert didn't refuse. He nodded directly and said, as for the ransom, leave it to me. I'll contact Earl Bear of the Blue Moon Principality. After I get the ransom, I'll give it all to you. Besides, I'll also compensate you with some gold coins. How about 50,000 gold coins? Albert's words surprised Alan. He didn't expect his cheap old man to agree so readily. It seems he underestimated the Earl. In this old thing's eyes, the family comes first. As long as Alan has value, he will give him great support. Damn, if I had known, I would have told him I became a knight earlier. Alan was speechless, but he was also very satisfied. After all, with the support of the Thorns Flower family, he instantly had 50,000 gold coins. This is not a small amount. Okay, that noble is down below. I'll have someone hand him over to you later. Also, I think the Blue Moon Principality's actions are a bit strange this time. Alan frowned slightly. After all, his territory was close to the sea, so he had to pay attention to the Blue Moon Principality's affairs. Albert was silent for a moment when he heard this, but then he said, it is a bit strange. The Blue Moon Principality seems to be very active recently. Some people speculate that the Blue Moon Principality may want to launch a national war. Albert's voice was calm. A glint flashed in his eyes. When it came to battle, this Earl was extremely good at it. The Earl was able to get to his current position because he followed Duke Ryan to fight on the battlefield. What? A national war? This time it was Alan's turn to be uneasy. That's right. You should know that the Blue Moon Principality is a maritime country, composed of islands at sea. They don't have many resources, not much land, and even fewer people. As a Grand Duke, the Blue Moon Grand Duke can't be content to stay at sea. He has always wanted to join the continent and obtain a rich territory on the continent. It's just that he failed before. After the founding of the country, he didn't have enough strength to gain a foothold on the continent. He was driven out and could only build a country at sea. Now he is preparing to make a comeback. Albert said calmly, as if he had known all of this for a long time. Alan was shocked. You knew this a long time ago. It's not that I knew it a long time ago, it was just a guess. But now it seems that this guess is very likely. But this war will not break out immediately, you still have time. Albert gave Alan a meaningful look. Alan, you should know what a national war means. Military merits, honor, land, resources, wealth, power. Several words flashed through Alan's mind instantly, and at the same time, a trace of heat rose in his heart. Originally, he was still thinking about how to reasonably obtain land, population, resources, etc. after his territory developed to a certain extent. Now he doesn't have to worry about it. As long as a national war breaks out, he will have countless opportunities to obtain all of this. Father, of course I know what this means, but now, I would rather talk to you about something else. Alan took a deep breath, and then said in a calm tone, Father, I need people, I need some talent. Chapter 32 War Mission Countdown. 5,000 people. As soon as he heard the words national war, Alan couldn't wait to have enough warriors in his hands now, preferably with a night squad, so that he would have enough strength to join the battlefield and fight independently. Independent combat means that the battle achievements are his alone. This is of great use to him in improving his title and obtaining a large amount of land and population. But he has almost no power in his hands now. He only has 70 warriors, which is not enough for him to rampage on the battlefield. He needs more, stronger power. Alan craves more power, but he has already decided that once a national war breaks out, he will definitely be the first to participate. As for strength, he has enough time to train warriors. If you ask Alan why he is so confident and thinks he has enough time, that's because the system in his mind has already released a new mission when Albert said the words national war. War mission, the national war between the Ryan Principality and the Blue Moon Principality. The Blue Moon Grand Duke on the sea can no longer endure the small territory, the barren land, the constantly decreasing population, and the scarcity of various resources. He has begun to plan a war, and he wants to obtain rich and vast territory on the continent. At this moment, the Blue Moon Grand Duke is in seclusion, and he is about to break through his original cultivation and his strength will be even higher. The day he breaks through will be the time when the national war begins. National War Countdown, 2 months and 8 days. Participate in the national war and win. When the national war starts, the system will open the merit shop. Killing or defeating one enemy warrior will earn 1 merit point. Killing or defeating one enemy level 1 knight will earn 10 merit points. Level 2 knight 50 merit points. Level 3 knight 100 merit points. The merit shop can be exchanged for mission rewards. The types of rewards include creature cards, acceleration cards, spirits of nature, experience points, and so on. A long string of prompts made Alan a little dizzy, but after reading it carefully, Alan's heart suddenly burst into joy. Damn it, the war mission is so great. Alan thought in his heart, and at the same time, relying on the system, he could also grasp the time of the national war, which was extremely beneficial to him. Since he knew the specific time to start the war, Alan calmed down a lot. First, complete the current task of recruiting people and reclaiming farmland, and hope that this task can give him rich enough rewards. Only in this way can he continue to train warriors. It's best to have a training acceleration card so that I can explode a wave of soldiers before the war starts. Alan thought in his heart. You want people and some professional talents. Albert didn't expect Alan to make such a. In fact, he was already considering whether to change Alan's territory and transfer him to a rich land near him to be a lord. I can rearrange your territory and give you rich land and a large population. Albert said slightly. Alan was stunned, but then he shook his head. No need, I just need a large population and some talents. Alan's answer made Albert a little confused, but looking at Alan's eyes, he still nodded. Okay, how many people do you need? The more the better. Alan said with a smile. I have already started to reclaim more farmland, so even if there are thousands more people, there will be no pressure. It seems that you have developed Rose Town well, then I will transfer 5,000 people to you. In addition, I can also give you some of the skilled talents you want, but not too many, at most 150 people. Albert was silent for a while and gave the maximum number he could give. Okay. Thank you, Father. Also, I would like to ask Father to help promote Rosetown more, so that the merchants of the Earl's territory can trade with Rosetown more. Alan said with a smile. Okay. Albert agreed calmly. The two chatted for a while, and Albert asked Alan to stay in Thorn's Flower Castle for the time being. After he transferred the population, he could directly take those people back to Rosetown. Alan agreed happily. Afterwards, the two father and son chatted about some other things. After the sky darkened a little, Alan left the study. He asked Marco to hand Rex over to the Earl, and then ordered Marco and the others to rest. As for Alan himself, he returned to his original room to rest. Soon, 3 days passed in a flash. Albert had selected more than 5,000 civilians that Alan ed, and there were also 150 craftsmen. These 150 people included carpenters, blacksmiths, winemakers, pastry chefs, doctors, tailors, shepherds, etc., all of whom were the most scarce people in Alan's territory. With this group of people, Alan estimated that it would be enough to complete the task. Chapter 33 Aaron. Alan, let's have a fight. Are you sure you don't want to stay a few more days? Aaron said with some surprise. He didn't know why Alan was in such a hurry to go back to his broken town. To be honest, even though Rosetown had been renewed, it was far worse than Thorn's Flower City. Not to mention Rosetown, even Aaron's territory is in a rich land. He would not often stay in his own territory, but often return to Thorn's Flower City. After all, there is a huge difference between big cities and small cities. Not to mention the countryside like Rosetown. No need, my territory is still developing, it needs me, and I have to hurry up and take these people back. Alan said with a slight smile. It seems you are already a qualified lord. Aaron showed a smile, looking forward to seeing you next time. Alan's smile became even brighter when he heard this. We will definitely see you again next time we find the spirit of nature. I believe it won't be too long. Aaron's smile froze slightly when he heard this. Ah, is that so? Then I wish you can continue to be lucky. Aaron felt more and more that his younger brother's face was more and more deserving of a beating. By the way, how about we brothers have a night duel? Don't worry, I won't use my full strength. Aaron suddenly said. Suddenly the faces of the people around changed. Of course, there were not many people around, only Marco, Albert and a few of Albert's young wives. Marco and Albert's expressions changed slightly and became a little strange and subtle when they heard this. The others showed some interest. Ah, are you sure? Number 21 to 21. Alan said with some surprise and hesitation, glancing at the Earl as he spoke. However, Earl Albert didn't seem to intend to stop him. Tisk tisk, intriguing. Does this mean he agrees to me beating up Elon? This old codger is too bad, but Alan still says he likes the old codger. Of course I'm sure. Don't worry, I'll control my strength. I just want to see if your basics have fallen behind after so long. Elon's smile carried a hint of smugness and anticipation. He really couldn't bear it anymore. Alan showed off his spirit of nature at every opportunity, and Elon was extremely jealous. Since Alan wanted to use the spirit of nature to talk, he could only use his strength to speak. He had to punch this kid hard and beat his face into a flower to feel comfortable. Elon thought. Alan smiled. Okay, I'm easy. Alan was helpless. Wasn't this just offering himself up to be beaten? He had already figured out Elon's details these past few days. He was still a level 4 knight. After all, knight cultivation wasn't easy. No one could be like him, leveling up as easily as drinking water. A level 4 knight wanted to fight a level 6 knight. Interesting. After hearing Alan agree, Elon immediately had someone find 2 sets of knight armor, making it quite formal. Come on, Alan, let me see if you've improved during this time. Elon said loudly, wearing a set of knight armor. The Viscount looked high-spirited. Alan smiled. Are you sure you want me to attack first? Elon was extremely confident. That's right, I'm the older brother, so I'll let you attack first. You can attack with all your strength. As Elon spoke, he deliberately looked at the surrounding onlookers. Albert's expression was calm, Marco's expression was slightly strange, only some maids and Albert's wives were watching the 2 young masters duel with great interest. Of course, they all supported the eldest young master. After all, Elon was Albert's eldest son and had the right to inherit the earldom. At the same time, he possessed extremely high cultivation talent and was about to break through to become a level 5 knight. He was also a top-notch expert in the earldom. And Alan had always been extremely mediocre. Even at the age of 16, he hadn't become a formal knight. Even if he broke through to become a formal knight in the future, his achievements would definitely not be high. It was estimated that he would only be a bronze knight for the rest of his life. Elon, go. Several wives saw Elon's gaze and immediately smiled and cheered for him. Begin. Albert glanced at his wives and said in a flat tone. You make your move. Elon said to Alan indifferently. Then I'll make my move. Alan wasn't polite either. Since Elon asked him to make the first move, without saying a word, a strong and majestic battle aura burst out from his body. Wind Duke Sword, first form. Alan said silently in his heart. The Wind Duke sword art was Earl Albert's famous sword art. As an 8th level knight powerhouse, his famous sword arts were all honed from countless battles. So, this led to Alan's attack. With his powerful strength coupled with fierce swordsmanship, he instantly rushed in front of Elon. The Wind Duke sword's first form was originally a sword technique for frontal assault. In just an instant, Alan's longsword had already slammed hard on Elon's face. Of course, he used the flat of the sword to hit him, not the blade to slash him. So, Elon only had time to scream before he was sent flying. Blood flowed from his face, and he spat blood from his mouth. His handsome face was instantly subjected to a cruel dimensional reduction attack. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Chapter 34 Returning to Rose Town, The Idea of Sea Cavalry. So I'll go first. At this moment, Alan rode his horse to the gate of the Thorns Flower Fortress. Behind him was Earl Albert. Go, next time, be gentler, after all, he is your brother. Albert said with some frown. Next time, I will definitely pay attention. The main reason is that I was too excited. You know, he has always beaten me, and I was too excited and couldn't control myself. Alan chuckled, he really felt refreshed all over. The accumulated depression of many years was vented. Oh, right, father, remember to have Elon send the gold coins to my territory. Once I receive the money, I will send him the magic bean. After saying the last sentence, Alan happily left with a large group of people. This time, he took a full 2,000 people back. Most of these people were civilians. As for why he didn't take them all at once, the main reason was that Alan's territory didn't have enough housing for the time being. Although he had previously sent people back to notify the people in the territory to build a new batch of houses. But even if the residents of Rose Town worked together, it would definitely not be enough. So Alan decided to take a batch of people back to build Rose Town first, and then let the remaining people move in one after another. Of course, he wouldn't let his people work for nothing. All those who followed him in the first batch would receive 10 silver coins. In addition, after entering the territory, as long as they worked, Alan would give them 10 copper coins a day. Under such high salary temptation, naturally, a large number of people would follow Alan to leave. Even many civilians who were not selected felt regretful. Watching Alan leave, Albert's eyes became somewhat deep. The Earl stayed outside the castle for a long time before returning to the castle. Woo woo woo. In a luxuriously decorated room, Elon lay on the bed, his entire face wrapped like a mummy. He kept making whimpering sounds in his mouth. At this moment, his face was already swollen in a big circle, and it was difficult to even speak. Albert came to see him and a trace of disappointment flashed in his eyes. Do you know why I refused to give you Rose Town? That's not a place you can touch. If your strength is inferior to others, you are not qualified to obtain other people's things. Your younger brother's strength has far surpassed you, Elon, you should focus on cultivating more. After Albert finished speaking, he didn't stay any longer and turned around to leave directly. Albert returned to the study. After he sat down, the originally calm and indifferent expression finally changed. A smile appeared on the Earl's face. At this moment, he smiled very brightly. Obviously, Alan's return this time brought Albert a huge surprise. Good boy, you didn't embarrass me, Albert said with a chuckle. Alan didn't know about the events at the Thorns Flower Fortress. At this moment, he was feeling very happy. Behind him was a team of 2,000 people, as well as a dozen vehicles of supplies. These supplies were all gifts from Earl Albert. After all, Alan had shown strong strength and potential. Albert's attitude towards Alan had naturally undergone a huge change. The most important thing is still the gold coins. Alan looked at the only 50,000 gold coins in the item bar and felt extremely happy. Now he was no longer as short of money as he was at the beginning. He had a full 85,000 gold coins in his hands. With money in his hands, many of Alan's ideas could naturally be implemented. Because he was leading a large army, this time it took Alan and his team more than a day to return to Rose Town. As soon as they returned, Rose Town became lively. The townspeople had never seen such a battle. From the beginning, only people from their Rose Town moved out. This was the first time so many people had moved in. Alan didn't waste any words. After announcing that these 2,000 people were all residents of Rose Town from now on, the entire Rose Town became completely lively. Fortunately, the residents of Rose Town had reclaimed a lot of farmland and were worried about not having enough manpower. Now the Lord had solved the population problem. Alan first let people take these 2,000 newcomers to rest for half a day, and then let them build some simple temporary tents. After doing all this, Alan let them rest well, and the next day he let them start going up the mountain to chop wood and build houses. The large open spaces in Rose Town seemed to be filled a lot in an instant. The newcomers built houses, while the former residents of Rose Town were responsible for reclaiming farmland. For a time, the enthusiasm of everyone in the entire Rose Town was unprecedentedly high. While Alan was building Rose Town, he didn't forget to train his warriors. During this time, he had been instilling a concept in everyone, that is, the magical beasts he summoned were their partners. A week later, most people no longer had a defensive attitude towards the sea lion beasts in the sea. Seeing that almost everyone had accepted the sea lion beasts, Alan gathered all the warriors. He was going to announce a major event today. That is, he was going to cultivate the first batch of sea cavalry. The so-called sea cavalry, of course, used sea lion beasts as mounts, warriors who could gallop on the sea. This was far more mobile than those naval troops who needed to operate ships, and at the same time, the power of the sea lion beasts also gave them powerful naval combat capabilities. This kind of combat unit was definitely in existence that could make any naval army despair. Chapter 35, Sea Cavalry Personnel Selection. Looking at the determined faces of the warriors in front of him, Alan smiled. My warriors, today I have gathered you here not for other matters. You are all elite warriors under my command, the only force protecting Rose Town. After the previous battle with the pirates, everyone should know that our enemies are not only on land, but also at sea. I am not someone who likes to be passively beaten. I prefer to take the initiative. I prefer to beat others and rob them. Damn it, I don't think I need to say more about the identity of those pirates, right? Those guys are from a duchy at sea, and they actually dared to rob Alan's head. Did they really think I'm easy to bully? I believe in many principles, one of which is called an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. They dare to sneak into my territory, and I dare to take people to rob their things. Warriors, are you willing to follow me? Alan spoke with curses, completely lacking his usual elegant demeanor and concern for noble etiquette. This made all the warriors widen their eyes. They couldn't believe that their lord actually had such a side. However, seeing their lord cursing without regard for etiquette, everyone felt a sense of closeness. Moreover, Alan's words were recognized by them. Everyone is human, so why can those Blue Moon Duchy bastards sneak attack Rose Town, but they can't sneak attack them? However, warriors, there is a problem we must face, which is also the issue I want to talk about today. We need naval power. But we currently have no ships. In this situation, we can only think of other ways. As Alan spoke, he pointed in the direction of the sea. Building ships now is too slow, and even if we have ships, we don't have sailors who can perfectly control them, let alone sneak attack the Blue Moon Duchy. But I've thought of a solution. After Alan finished speaking, he snapped his fingers. Soon, everyone saw 20 white sea beasts suddenly appear on the calm sea surface. Sea lion beasts. They are also our most loyal friends. I need 20 warriors to fight alongside our friends. These 20 warriors will train with the sea lion beasts in the coming time. You will ride the sea lion beasts to conquer the sea. These 20 people will be my first batch of sea cavalry. In the future, these 20 people will independently become a combat unit, enjoying higher treatment and greater glory. Alan said calmly. As soon as he finished speaking, the 70 warriors in front of him all showed excited expressions. Alan's words instantly moved them. Whether it was the sea cavalry being able to partner with magical beasts, or the sea cavalry being able to obtain better treatment and more glory, these were all things that moved them. As warriors, they certainly craved stronger power and extraordinary strength. But they didn't have battle or magic. They could only rely on their physical strength, which meant that their desire for extraordinary power could only exist in fantasy. But today, Lord Alan actually gave them an opportunity to befriend magical beasts, and even ride magical beasts to conquer the sea. What an honor, what a prestige. Who present wouldn't be moved? Not to mention those warriors, even Marco was moved by what he heard. Now we need to select 20 warriors who are proficient in swimming and have the strongest strength. Only the strongest people can have the highest glory. Alan's words completely ignited the warriors. Alan didn't waste any time and directly asked Marco to preside over the selection, asking all those willing to compete for the sea cavalry to stand up, and everyone would have a big competition. Alan and Marco would select the final 20 people to serve as the first batch of sea cavalry. Who is willing to participate in the competition? Marco asked the warriors. Immediately, all 70 people stood up. Hey, you little brats, you're all thinking pretty well, you all want to be sea cavalry. Is your strength enough? Marco said with curses, and soon he began to arrange for people to compete. This competition had two events, one was a competition of martial strength, and the other was a competition of swimming skills. The competition lasted for a whole day before Alan and Marco finally selected the 20 most suitable people. Now, those whose names I call, step forward. After determining the list of personnel, Marco immediately began to announce their names. Bill. Ross. As Marco's mouth uttered one name after another. Some of the warriors were happy and some were disappointed. Soon, after the 20 people were named, the others who were not selected were all filled with envy. And those who were selected were like roosters that had won a fight, their faces full of pride. Alright, everyone doesn't need to be disappointed. They are just our first batch of sea cavalry. There will also be a second batch, a third batch, and even not only sea cavalry, but also other options. Believe me, you will have many opportunities in the future. What you need to do now is not to be disappointed, but to work harder to train yourselves and wait for the second chance. Alan said loudly, and his words made the other 50 warriors' eyes light up. Soon Alan asked everyone to go back and rest well, and asked the 20 selected people to report outside the castle early tomorrow morning. Chapter 36, Training Sea Cavalry, 3 Money-Making Ideas. The next morning, Alan took the 20 people who had been waiting outside the castle early to the beach. Today, he was going to meet the 20 people with the sea lion beasts and let them begin their training mode. Since they were sea cavalry, their battlefield was the sea, and training was naturally in the sea. This was also why he needed warriors who were good at swimming. Arriving at the beach, Alan called out in his heart, and immediately, 20 huge sea lion beasts appeared in front of them. Alright, all of you go forward and choose your sea lion beast. From today onwards, you will be inseparable partners. Alan said to the 20 warriors, while also telling the sea lion beasts in his heart that they would start cooperating with the people in front of them from today onwards. The sea lion beasts did not resist Alan's orders in any way. Soon, everyone had chosen their sea lion beast. The 20 people and 20 sea lion beasts began their first training session. In the beginning, the focus was definitely on training the tacit understanding between one person and one beast, just like how cavalry on land needed to cooperate tacitly with their warhorses. The sea cavalry also needed this kind of tacit understanding. In the sea, the 20 sea cavalrymen and sea lion beasts began their difficult first training session. Obviously, the sea cavalrymen had never even ridden a horse before, so how could they directly control a magical beast? Even if the sea lion beasts cooperated with all their might, it would still cause all kinds of blunders. For example, the sea lion beast turned too hard and threw the sea cavalrymen flying out in an instant. Such examples were commonplace. Alan knew that they needed some time to cooperate. Anyway, there was still enough time, so Alan was not in a hurry. After letting the sea cavalry train on their own, Alan directly let go and returned to the castle. Now the entire Rose town was busy, and Alan naturally couldn't relax too much. First, he cultivated with Safi for 3 or 4 hours, and then after coming out of the dragon nest, Alan played with the natural spirits for a while. Natural spirits are very playful and need human companionship. After playing with the 3 little fellows until they were tired, Alan fed them some magic crystals and then put them on the soft little bed and left the room. Alan returned to the study and began to tinker with his own things. After all, he was a transmigrator, and he had a lot of ideas and money-making ideas in his head. The reason why he didn't research these things before was because he didn't have time. He encountered various problems as soon as he took over the territory, and he really didn't have time to sort out his previous knowledge. Secondly, not only was he weak in the past, but he was also alone and weak. Even if he came up with some money-making things, he wouldn't have the ability to keep them. Rather than being forcibly taken away by others at that time, it would be better not to study those things. Now it was different. Although he was still just a small baron, he was a level 6 knight, and perhaps he would soon break through to become a level 7 golden knight. At that time, he would be a strong man who could be ranked in the entire duchy. In addition, the Earl now looked at him differently, and with the support of the Thorns Flower family, there was naturally no problem in guarding his own property. Let me think, what industry can I develop now? Alan stroked his chin. In front of him was a slightly rough piece of paper, with a delicate quill and ink next to it. The wine-making industry can be considered. The process of ordinary distilled spirits is not particularly complicated. In this world where the alcohol concentration is generally low, it can quickly open up the market. And the most important thing is that the brewing process in this world is not high, which will make distilled spirits easier to be accepted. Alan quickly selected his first goal. Rose Town, since it is named after roses, why don't I launch a rose perfume? According to my observation, this world shouldn't have such a thing as perfume, right? Alan's thoughts became wider and wider. And candy, it seems that there are no delicious candies born in this world either. Alan couldn't help but laugh when he thought of this. Not to mention anything else, just these 3 ideas, once implemented, he would not have to worry about gold coins for a long time in the future. Thinking of doing it, Alan wanted to completely sort out some of the knowledge in his mind. Soon he called Edward the butler and asked him to call in the finance officer Sparrow. Your Excellency Lord, do you have any tasks for me to summon me? In front of Alan, Sparrow bowed extremely respectfully to Alan. Alan smiled slightly. Of course, and it is a big task that can bring us huge benefits. Hearing Alan's words, Sparrow's eyes suddenly lit up. Oh, my respected lord, please be sure to give them to me, I will cherish them more than I cherish my own son. Of course, you are the most outstanding finance officer by my side. Alan handed a pile of drawings to Sparrow. This is the tool we need. Find some carpenters and make them. Remember to keep a close eye on the carpenters and don't let them leak secrets. Sparrow immediately cherished them as if he had obtained a treasure, constantly stroking the drawings in his hands. Of course, your lord, don't worry, no one can steal these treasures from my Sparrow. Chapter 37. Distilled Liquor, Perfume, Maltose. Soon, Sparrow selected 3 carpenters to start creating the necessary tools according to Alan's blueprints. In reality, it wasn't difficult. It was simply a condenser coil needed for distilling and purifying alcohol, as well as a small tool combining iron and wood for distilling liquor. The production of perfume and maltose was simpler, requiring less complex tools. With the efforts of the 3 craftsmen, a tool for making distilled liquor was quickly completed. Although it was a bit crude, it was perfectly sufficient for experimentation. Alan had someone bring out a barrel of wine, and then, under the gaze of everyone, he poured the entire barrel of wine into the iron pot at the bottom, covered it, placed the distillation apparatus, and began the distillation process. Of course, due to technical issues, the distillation process was slightly bumpy, but overall, after Alan's various manipulations, he managed to distill a batch of liquor. Although Alan's various operations were not up to par, he had already made significant progress in this world. Watching the liquor being distilled out drop by drop, Alan revealed a smile. He poured a glass each for Sparrow and Edward, and poured one for himself as well. The three of them began to taste it simultaneously. In an instant, Sparrow's eyes widened. He simply couldn't believe that ordinary wine, after Alan's manipulations, had become even more mellow, and the taste was naturally more intense. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Good wine. Good wine. Sparrow repeatedly exclaimed, his eyes filled with excitement. Even the old Mr. Edward, who had long served nobles and tasted fine wines from all over the world, had his eyes light up. Good wine. Alan smiled. What you're drinking is just the first distillation. This stuff can be distilled a second time, but for now, one distillation is enough. However, this distillation apparatus needs to be improved, and we also need to brew some better wine so that the distilled liquor will be more fragrant and captivating. As Alan spoke, he began to tinker with the next item, perfume. Coincidentally, perfume also required alcohol as a raw material, but Alan couldn't determine exactly what concentration of alcohol was needed, so he could only redistill the distilled liquor he had just made to increase the alcohol concentration, and then start making perfume. Perfume was relatively simple. He crushed some rose petals, added some water, and then added some alcohol, putting them into sealed small bottles. After a series of operations, Alan obtained a bottle of rosé perfume. The perfume's scent was neither too strong nor too weak, and was very captivating. My God, what is this thing? It can emit a scent more captivating than roses. I bet women will love this thing to death. Sparrow smiled so much that his eyes almost disappeared. While he was laughing, Alan had already started making maltose, which required wheat and glutinous rice, which he had in his castle. Soon, following the method in his memory, a pot of maltose was produced. God, I finally know why you favor Lord Alan so much. His wisdom is too terrifying. Sparrow took a bite of maltose, and the whole person was instantly conquered by this wonderful sweet treat. What exactly is this thing, and why does it make me feel so happy? Sparrow muttered to himself while eating the maltose. He had been completely shocked by Alan's operations, and now he was a little dazed. Not only him, but the steward Edward was also shocked by Alan's skills. He never knew that Alan had so many skills. Any one of these could make a person rich overnight. Moreover, Alan came up with 3 money-making ideas in one day. In that instant, Alan made Edward feel a little strange. He seemed to have become the most knowledgeable scholar in an instant, making Edward unable to see through him. Well, not bad. Sure enough, sugar can give people a feeling of happiness and joy. Alan also tasted a bite of maltose and found that the taste was not bad. Lord, please be sure to teach me the production methods of these 3 treasures. I, Sparrow, swear that I will never spread them. Sparrow came back to his senses, and knelt excitedly in front of Alan, begging Alan to teach him the production methods. Although he had just watched it once, seeing and learning are 2 different things. Okay, Sparrow, this was originally something I was going to give you. Your current task is to gather manpower and give me a good fight. Now that the road to commerce has been opened, we also need to let the world see our value. Alan revealed a smile. He was not worried at all that Sparrow would betray him, because when he swore allegiance to him, the system had already planted the will of never betraying in his soul. Come on, watch my technique carefully, and grasp the timing. Alan began to teach Sparrow the production methods of distilled liquor, perfume, and maltose. Sparrow listened with fascination. This was just the kind of person he was. As long as it was knowledge related to money, he could be more eager to learn than a good student, but if it had nothing to do with money, then learning. Learn my ass. Soon, Sparrow had basically mastered the production methods for distilled spirits, perfume, and maltose. This shrewd man with a small mustache immediately left in a hurry, eager to start his grand endeavor. Chapter 38, 2 weeks later, recruiting warriors. Opening parenthesis. 2 weeks later, a large number of brand new wooden houses appeared in Rose Town. The new residents of Rose Town perfectly completed their first task. After they finished, Alan immediately brought back the remaining 3,000 people, along with a large number of talented individuals with professional skills. Alan valued these people quite a bit. It was because of these people that the entire Rose Town would be sublimated on a spiritual level. With enough population, Alan began to allocate farmland and distribute crop seeds. At the same time, he also noticed that some people were entering Rose Town from the outside every day. Some were merchants, and some were farmers. Merchants came to do business, and farmers came to join Rose Town. Alan welcomed them all. Now, a large amount of land has been reclaimed, and recently, Sparrow applied for some land to build factories. Now, the territory of Rose Town already has the first distilled spirits factory, perfume factory, and maltose factory. Alan paid more attention to this. After all, it was one of the economic lifelines of the town in the future. Occasionally, he would take the time to check on the factory's progress. The factory is now nearing completion and is about to enter the production stage. It is estimated that the first batch of products will be released soon. When that time comes, it will be the moment of Rose Town's rise. Of course, in these 2 weeks, the Sea Cavalry also had a huge harvest. They have initially established rapport and friendship with the sea lion beasts. In a while, they will be able to completely adapt to the ability to ride sea lion beasts to fight at sea. At that time, Alan doesn't mind going out to sea for some fun. His words about repaying blood with blood and a tooth for a tooth were not just empty talk, he really wanted to do it. But there was no rush. It wouldn't be too late to act after the Sea Cavalry had been thoroughly trained. After about 5,000 people had integrated into Rose Town, Alan once again summoned Marco to his castle. Now we have a large population, land, and have opened up commercial roads. The development of Rose Town will only get better and better in the future, but we cannot only develop the economy and agriculture of Rose Town. We need more armed forces. Alan said, he has developed what he should develop now, and what he needs to do most now is to train more soldiers. Now there is only a little over a month left before the national war. That's right, Lord, that's what I wanted to say too. Marco nodded. Rose Town was getting richer and richer. As Alan's guard knight, he was naturally responsible for the armed forces of the territory. Now the armed forces of the territory are really too few. After all, Rose Town is no longer the small town that didn't even have 1,000 people before. First, issue an order to recruit warriors, with preferential treatment. As for the number, at least 500 people. Of course, if you can recruit more, that's the best. Now I have enough money to support them. Alan showed a tycoon smile. Not long ago, Baron Rex of the Blue Moon Principality had been redeemed by his father, Duke Furious Bear, for a full 50,000 gold coins. And the gold coins were also sent to Rose Town by Elon, and at the same time, he also came to purchase 3 kinds of magical plants. After being hit head-on by Alan, Elon no longer had the superiority he once had when he saw Alan, only anger and a hint of fear. After Elon sent the gold coins, Alan's gold coins had already broken through the 100,000 mark, approaching 150,000 gold coins. With so much money, he could afford to support even a legion of 1,000 people. Not to mention a mere 500 people. Okay, I'll go recruit people right away. Marco received Alan's order and immediately prepared to recruit new warriors. Well, by the way, call Sparrow over. Alan thought for a while and said to Marco. Yes, Lord. Marco respectfully retreated. Soon, Sparrow, with a smile on his face, appeared in front of Alan. Lord, Sparrow obeys your call. Sparrow bowed to Alan and said. Well, Sparrow, tomorrow go to the Earl's territory to buy some weapons and armor. Ask Marco for the specific number. Also, I have something else to ask you. Alan suddenly thought of the small box filled with monster fur and bones that Sparrow had given him before. He was very curious about where Sparrow had gotten those things. After all, there was a sea lion beast skeleton inside, which allowed him to unlock the sea lion beast species. If he could discover some more powerful magical species, it would definitely be a surprise for Alan. Please ask, Lord, I will definitely answer everything I know and answer everything completely. Sparrow said to Alan. Well, I want to ask you where you found that box of fur and bones that you gave me before. A gleam of light flashed in Alan's eyes. Ah, are you talking about those animal furs? I bought them from a friend who has a good relationship with me. His ancestors were nobles, but they have declined in his generation. Number 24 to 24. Sparrow immediately replied. Oh, does his family have anything similar? Take another look when you go to the Earl's territory this time, and buy them all if there are any. Alan said directly. As you wish, Sparrow said respectfully. Chapter 39 Generous Beginner Knight Training Acceleration Card. In addition to the warrior's leather armor, weapons, and the magic beast furs and bones he needed, Alan also asked Sparrow to buy some cattle and sheep back. After all, the territory has become rich, and Alan is preparing to build a ranch. After all, he still likes meat food very much, and it is impossible to run out to buy meat often. As his orders and ideas were conveyed, the entire Rose Town, no, it should be said that the open space of the entire territory was almost filled by him. And the total population of the territory has also reached about 6,500 people. This has reached the upper limit of Alan's territory's population carrying capacity. It should be noted here that although Alan is the Lord of Rose Town, his territory is much larger than Rose Town. Rose Town is just a small town occupying less than 1/5 of the area between the three mountains. Before Alan arrived, this small town did not have enough energy to develop other large areas of land. But now Alan has perfectly utilized all these open spaces. 3 or 4 days later, with Sparrow's return, a cattle and sheep ranch appeared in Alan's territory, completely filling the remaining open space, and Alan even divided the three mountains into the ranch. With vine pigs patrolling the three mountains, naturally no wild beasts dared to run rampant, making it a natural pasture. Ding, there is still 1 week and 2 days before the mission deadline. Do you want to choose to end the mission early and settle the rewards? After Alan completely planned the territory's fields and population, he immediately chose to settle the rewards. Yes. As Alan answered affirmatively, the system began to settle Alan's. Ding. Congratulations to the host, the mission completion rate is 100%, the land has been perfectly expanded, and the population has also increased to the territory limit. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 30,000 experience points. 1 gold mine, small to medium, 3 spirits of nature, the host specifies the type of spirit of nature, beginner warrior training acceleration card *20. Beginner Knight Training Acceleration Card *1. A series of words appeared in front of Alan, and Alan suddenly smiled. The rewards are generous, and the acceleration card he urgently needed appeared. What shocked him even more was that this time, a Knight Training Acceleration card actually appeared. This made Alan couldn't help but his heart beat faster. Knight Training Acceleration card can improve the potential and talent of warriors, allowing them to quickly grow and break through to become knights within 2 weeks. Each Knight Training Acceleration card is limited to 10 people. Alan almost cheered. It really is what you want comes. Originally, Alan was still worried about the lack of knight power around him, but now it seems that he will soon be able to have a knight squad of more than 10 people. You must know that even an ordinary level 1 knight is much stronger than a warrior. If they can be equipped with war horses. A knight squad of more than 10 people, the combat power that erupts is completely no less than an army of 200 people. The most important thing is that knights have powerful strength, mobility, and destructive power. They are like the tip of a spear, the sharpest blade on the battlefield. Alan needs a knight squad too much. With a knight squad, even if Alan only has 500 people, he will definitely not be afraid of an army of 800 or even 1,000 warriors. As long as the knight squad can tear a gap in the enemy's army formation, then his warriors can destroy the enemy and drive straight in. The position of knights on the battlefield is really too important. After receiving the rewards, Alan didn't look at the subsequent refreshed tasks, or even look at the other rewards, and went straight out of the castle. He wants to use the acceleration card immediately, whether it is a warrior or a knight, he needs it. Soon, Alan came to the training ground, which is probably one of the few relatively open spaces. At this moment, Marco has selected 500 warriors. It is said that this is the first batch, and there are still many people who want to become warriors, but Marco has limited energy and can only do it batch by batch. Alan expressed no objection to this. Lord, you are here. Marco showed a respectful look when he saw Alan. Yes, I'm here to take a look and bring the blessing of the god of war by the way. Alan's words made Marco's eyes light up. The blessing of the god of war. This is not the first time he has heard this word. The last time was when he was training the first batch of warriors. That time, Alan also came here to inspect, and after he left, the originally clumsy townspeople seemed to have suddenly become enlightened, and their learning ability, coordination, perseverance, and even physical fitness began to improve rapidly. This is also why that batch of warriors only needed a week to complete all the training and become qualified warriors. At that time, Marco was very shocked. Not only him, but also those warriors were very surprised. In the end, they believed that this was all the power of the Lord. After all, the Lord is a man watched by the gods. Perhaps because of him, they were blessed by the gods and became stronger quickly. Marco also privately asked Alan, and Alan of course gave him an affirmative answer, and called the power that quickly makes people stronger the blessing of the God of War. Chapter 40 Use the Knight Training Acceleration Card. That's great, Lord, if we can have the blessing of the God of War, we will soon be able to have a powerful army. Marco said with a slightly excited voice. Alan smiled slightly. He maintained the elegant posture of the nobles, and at the same time he had to maintain his calm appearance. After all, he is already a man watched by the gods. This little thing can't make him too excited. Maintain the persona. Everyone assemble. Lord Alan is going to bless you with the blessing of the God of War. I believe you have already heard of it. You are not the first batch of warriors I trained, nor are you the first batch of people to receive the blessing of the God of War. The first batch of warriors has become excellent and powerful warriors, and the best of them have become sea cavalry. The sea cavalry is mighty enough. Now, the generous and benevolent Lord Alan has decided to give you the same blessing of the God of War. You brats, why don't you hurry up and kneel to thank the Lord for his grace? Marco said loudly to the soldiers. Thank you for your grace, Lord. 500 warriors immediately knelt in front of Alan, their expressions excited, waiting for Alan to cast the blessing of the God of War. Alan smiled and directly took out 10 warrior training acceleration cards and activated them. Soon, the warriors showed shocked and ecstatic expressions. Really? The blessing of the God of War is real. What a magical power. I feel like I have become stronger, and my memory has become better. Oh my God, I seem to have grown taller. My strength is stronger. The warriors said excitedly. Seeing their reaction, Marco knew that the blessing of the God of War had taken effect. Although it was not the first time he had seen this scene, Marco couldn't help but feel shocked. Lord Alan has such a powerful force, the future is definitely limitless. Marco believes that Alan will definitely become a big figure in the principality in the future. Alan then encouraged the excited warriors in front of him, and then asked Marco to continue training them. Then he did not return to the castle, but went to the training ground where the veterans were. Except for the 20 sea cavalrymen who were not there, the rest were here. Lord. When they saw Alan, they knelt on one knee and saluted Alan at the same time. Well, I'm here today to tell you good news. Alan looked at the warriors kneeling on the ground and showed a slight smile. I said before that although you cannot become sea cavalrymen, you will still have countless opportunities to become stronger. Now this opportunity has come. Alan's words made the warriors kneeling on the ground suddenly happy. Lord, what is the opportunity? Someone asked boldly. An opportunity to become a knight, an opportunity to become my Alan's personal guard. Do you want it? Alan's tone was tinged with temptation. Become a knight. Everyone instantly felt their breathing become heavy. This is even more tempting than becoming a sea cavalryman. After all, the knight's fighting spirit is his own power, and the power of the magic beast is ultimately only the power of the magic beast. Oh my God, gods, what incredible power does the Lord have to be able to make people become knights? We want this opportunity. Everyone roared loudly. Very good, like selecting sea cavalrymen. This time I will give you another chance to prove yourselves. I will give you 10 places. Number 25 to 25. Alan said loudly. 10 spots. Everyone's eyes turned red, which meant 40 people would be eliminated. In an instant, everyone was filled with fighting spirit. To be a knight, first, you need to have superb martial arts, archery, and swordsmanship. So this competition is divided into 3 parts, testing archery and swordsmanship respectively. Originally, Alan wanted them to have superb horsemanship, but these were just ordinary soldiers after all, and they hadn't received much equestrian training. That's why Alan excluded horsemanship, but he didn't mean he didn't care about it. Instead, he planned to train them rigorously in horsemanship after selecting the personnel. With the Knight Training Acceleration card, Alan believed they would soon become true knights. Alan had people move some food, wine, tables, and chairs from the castle. He sat directly on the chair and let the warriors begin their swordsmanship competition. Then, he randomly found some targets and had them compete in archery. Finally, he selected 10 people and directly used the Knight Training Acceleration card on them. As for those who were not selected, Alan also comforted them. Warriors who have not been selected, don't be disappointed. Believe me, there will be more and more opportunities like this in the future. Keep working hard, warriors. Alan's words restored the fighting spirit of the eliminated warriors. At this moment, the 10 people who had already had the Knight Training Acceleration card used on them had clearly felt the changes in their bodies. This was an even more drastic change than using the Warrior Training Acceleration card. My body is so hot, it feels like something is about to appear inside me. My body is starting to grow taller, and I have more muscles. It feels like I'm full of strength, and I also feel like something is brewing inside my body. Me too. Soon, the 10 people Alan had selected stated that their bodies had already begun to change. Alan nodded in satisfaction. You have been given more blessings from the god of war by me, and soon your bodies will develop battle chi. After saying that, he took out a small booklet from his arms. This is a beginner's battle chi manual. Take it and practice. During this period, each of you will intensify your training for me. What I want are 10 powerful and elite knights. Don't let me down. Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audio Wave to stay updated with our latest stories. And never miss out on a great listen.